Hi, welcome to Ikate's Crossing. Before we start looking at Who Were You for Healing Wednesday, what I want to do is I just want you to, while I'm reading this next part, just focus a little bit on the Crystal Alley cards. Now this is the backs of the cards, okay? So what I'm going to do is I'm going to lay down a card, one card. Let's see what today's card's about. Here we go. Because we're talking about who were you. This is quite apt, I think. It is Apophyllite. It is the card of the wind, a wind card. And it is wisdom. So, can you see that? So I'm going to lay that there. Just want you to take a nice deep breath in through your nose and out through your mouth, and ask the connection of Apophyllite to come through to connect with your inner wisdom. Okay, and I'm just going to read you a little bit from the book, because I really think this is quite important. Where are you? Take a nice deep breath in through your nose, out through your mouth, in through your nose, out through your mouth. Nice deep slow breaths, connecting with your inner self, with your wisdom, with your knowledge. It's coming through. It's really important. Apophyllite. Okay, this is for your third eye and your crown chakras, and your affirmation is, I make my choices based upon my wisdom from past experience. Interesting. Okay, your message of Apophyllite. Apophyllite is encouraging you to recognize what you are meant to learn right now from the situations in which you are currently engaged. There is an opportunity to increase your personal power and wisdom by ensuring that you are relying on experience, not just information. To help you extract and integrate the lessons here, what is the current situation teaching you? Have you learnt the lesson yet, or are you still struggling to perceive it? If you don't understand what you are meant to learn, simply take action in the direction that seems wisest to you. If you are right, you will learn. If you are wrong, you will learn. In either case, your wisdom will increase. Apophyllite is also reminding you that you have all the answers you need to make the right choice. However, you'll need to draw upon your experience and look honestly at the causes you are setting into motion with your choices and decisions. In other words, use the wisdom you have already accumulated in life. There is real opportunity here to make new and different choices that will change your future path. But that won't happen if you make the same old choices in the same old way. Wow! When you think about what we're reading, who were you? And then this is the message that you get with Apophyllite and wisdom. Wow. Okay. So remember, your chakras are your third eye and your crown chakra. Your affirmation, I make my choices based upon my wisdom from past experiences. Okay, let us begin with who were you? Okay, this is the next video in the series. Are we an adaptable system? Okay. Theories of evolution either deny or ignore any reference to God or gods in the creation of the world as we know it. However, belief in a theory of evolution does not preclude religious beliefs. Creation stories, such as are told in the book of Genesis in the Old Testament, are regarded as metaphorical. Ideas about how we evolved vary in their details, but are all founded upon the assumption that when the Earth was formed, very tiny living entities grew, reproduced, and died in succession, and only the strongest survived. Evolution maintained that survival is the aim of every species, that it was imperative to adapt to the conditions found on Earth. As those conditions changed, so the living creatures changed. Some, such as tribulites and dinosaurs, developed and become extinct because they could not adapt. Two main theories of evolution. Number one, the common ancestry theory. This theory states that in the beginning there was one form of life, that was not even a single cell, from which all living things have developed, the various species forming branches from a common tree of development. Okay, so here's the diagram. Okay, we've got higher plants. Okay, this is going to be a little bit difficult for me to sort of show you. I think this is going to be, I might have to edit, take a photo and add it to the video. I think I will do that. Take a photo and add it. Okay, I'll add it to there. So you'll see that there's higher plants, higher animals, fish, amphibians, reptiles, birds and mammals, molds, and as the tree goes down there's multimus flatworms, protozoa, sponges, algae. You see the green algae, viruses, bacteria. So it goes down. The other way is the parallel ancestry theory. This theory states that in the beginning there was one form of life from which several different species developed independently. A chart showing the appearance of different species on the geological time is on the left, while here is the fossil evidence to show that fish, amphibia and reptiles may have developed from a common branch. There is no conclusive evidence in the fossil records to suggest that any of the larger vertebrates share a common ancestry. This may be because A, fossil remains have yet to be discovered, B, fossil remains have not been preserved, and C, species development was independent. So this is the other one that I'll take a photo of so that you can get a bit more of a clearer view of it. As you can see, here's man and the different species are here. So I'll take a photo and add it in. Okay, the other thing we're going to look at is adapting for physical survival. Ready? As a species, we are primarily a physical system, adaptable because we have a feedback loop. Evolutionary theory suggests that we are how the system works. Suppose species X is receiving information from the environment that the climate is getting colder. Each individual can maintain its body heat within a limited range, but beyond that the species itself will have to adapt. The feedback loop adds information to the input which tells species X that it has to mobilize its resources and make a fundamental evolutionary change. Evolutionists would maintain that the species decides to change, driven by the need to survive. Species X survives in two ways: by the survival of only those members whose bodies best cope with the climate, or two, by a lengthy process of adaptation in response to the change of climate. In the first instance, the species remains the same. In the second, a change takes place, which alters the fundamental structure. Species X becomes species Y, a very close relative, but demonstrating an evolutionary difference. Species that can't make a change become extinct, and that line or branch of evolution ends. Okay, here you go. Is our spiritual life also a system? Okay, you may like to try drawing a diagram to illustrate a process of spiritual evolution, for example through reincarnation, in which case the feedback would be according to the law of karma. Okay, physical or spiritual survival. If a species is committed to physical survival, that species must be totally self-centered. Self-centeredness is contrary to many religious beliefs in which the soul must conquer the self in order to achieve eternal life. dedication to spiritual survival can apparently play no part in the evolutionary process, or can it? What do you think? Is evolutionary adaptation incompatible with the search for eternal life? Furthermore, if reincarnation does occur, could it be that the evolution of body and soul is co-current and independent? The split between religion and science has widened during this century, yet some religions, such as Japanese Shintoism, and some scientific areas, such as nuclear physics, would appear to have much in common. Perhaps the rift between self and soul must be healed before we can fully understand the paradoxes of life. Okay. Shall we have been here before? Okay, this is... I talked about the anthropoc. So I've sort of gone back a little bit, and now we're going a little bit ahead. Just because I wanted to explain I just wanted to explain a little bit about that. Okay. So last week we talked about the 4 anthropic principles: the weak, the strong, the participatory, and the final anthropic principles. Okay. Let's talk about the prince. Okay, now we're going into 3 dimensions of thought. Okay, this is going to be a little bit to listen to. Have you lived before, and will you have an afterlife? The 2 short answers are yes or no. Yes, there is an eternal life, or no, there is only the one life you are living now. These polarities, yes and no, are 2 dimensions of thought. Although within each there are many shades of meaning, the polar dimensions can be represented on a continuum, with some variations marked along the horizontal axis. To extend the bipolar line in either direction does not add a 3rd dimension. This will simply modify and intensify the yes or no positions. Nor is the 3rd dimension the central position, as it is often held to be the case by middle-of-the-road politicians. The central position may sometimes be regarded as compromised, but in reality it is a lack of commitment to either pole, and is actually the don't know position. I don't know if you can see the... Oops, where am I? Trying to find the right balance here. No, it's going to be a bit hard. I think there's another thing. I'm going to have to take some real good photos so you can see the different aspects. Okay, the 3rd dimension of thought. In this book, the anthropic principles, which we talked about last week, represent the 3rd dimension. Although they are a recent proposition, there have been many similar ideas formulated throughout the history. This 3rd dimension of thought is neither yes nor no, it is an entirely different concept. How then can it be shown diagrammatically in relation to the first 2 dimensions? A simple flat triangle might suffice, but what would we write at the 3rd point of the triangle? What is the real alternative to the yes and no polarity? PO, the creative thinking tool. Dr. Edward de Bono introduced this word as the alternative to the yes and no system. Instead of yes or no, he suggests the use of a third word, PO, to open our minds. PO having 5 basic functions. 1. To explore beyond the obvious by listening to others' points of view. 2. To stimulate our sense of humour and fantasy by trying things just to see what happens. 3. To create an intermediate idea that may be impossible but helps to achieve the next 2 functions. Or 4. To loosen deeply held beliefs by challenging the rigidity of dogmatism. Or 5. To liberate us from the domination of fixed ideas by introducing discontinuity. Question. Do I think there is internal life? A single point to stimulate thought. Answer 1. Yes, I believe in internal life. A shaded atmosphere, the first dimension of thought. Answer 2. Only evolutionary theory is logical. A box and perspective, the second dimensions of thought. And answer 3. Poe, I'll keep an open mind and do some creative thinking. Just supposing an intermediate impossible, the third dimension of thought. You may not, of course, find it easy to answer yes, no, or po. Other replies to the question may be, I don't know, or I would like to think that. But you might back out because you don't want even to consider the question, or you might be delayed by arguing about its meaning. So, what do you think? Interesting, isn't it? Do I think there is internal life? Yes, no, or po? Interesting. So I think that's enough for today. I will add those extra bits in so you can see. Whoops. So there we are. Interesting. With the Crystal Alley cards, the Evolution Edition, we have Wisdom with a Apophyllite, which I thought was very, very interesting. Quite incredible, really, when you think about it. And we've discussed, are we an adaptable system? And we've looked at 3 dimensions of thought. So enjoy the rest of your week. Take care and blessed be. From Hekate's Crossing.